As you can tell, there is a lot happening on the trail and on social media as Saint Lucia gets ready to go to the polls. So apart from electing politicians to office, what is it that the electorate is getting out of this exercise? What will give us a competitive edge in a global community? Do these people on the front lines of the campaign see a reduction in poverty? Are they better off today than they were 5 years ago? Will they be better off 5 years from now? I am Fanis. Join me for the Independence Project, a journey of discovery as we try to live up to the ideals of our motto, the land, the people, the light.
And I think we don't have long to wait again. We don't have long to speculate again. The 26th will say what the people of Caspi Central really feel.
Judgment Day will come, and judgment is in the ballot boxes at the end of the day. So if Sarah has performed and people believe in her, then invariably they will re-elect her.
In 2016 I said, if you vote for me, I'll give you my best. Amen. In 2021, I say if you vote for me, I will give you my very best.
So it is happening. The very final countdown is on to general elections in Saint Lucia. The nominations are in and the candidates are embarking on the final push to convince voters who is best placed to run the country at this time.
My fellow St. Lucians, good evening.
When Prime Minister Alan Shastney announced July 26 as Election Day, he told the country this was going to be the most consequential decision facing the island.
This is not an ordinary election. This is an election for the ages.
The evidence of their failures, inabilities, and misplaced priorities is overwhelming and undeniable.
As usual, competing narratives and characterizations, all extremely concerning.
We cannot make the mistake of turning back now and trusting our future to the same old labor, the same tired ideas and failed ideologies, and an inability to implement, which got our country into economic and social mess that we've spent the last 5 years fixing.
After 5 years, there is no significant foreign investment, no 7 hotels as promised. As their term closes, St. Lucia's economy is the worst performer of the independent member states of the OECS, according to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank.
The verdict for the United Workers' Party will start taking shape around 11 p.m. on July 26. This program, the Independence Project, was due to coincide with the 40th anniversary of Saint Lucia's independence. But like a New Year's resolution, the start date kept changing. But here we are on the verge of elections, 42 years after our independence from Great Britain. The theme this year, We Can, We Will, featured in all the songs released for independence.
Resilience, my nation, Saint Lucia.
The sub-themes of resilience and unity were prevalent right through the submissions.
We fall down, but we bounce back again. We learn from tragedy, we get stronger from the pain. And the storms will come for sure, we know, but the clouds will fade away. There'll be sunshine tomorrow.
It is clear St. Lucians are a resilient people, but what are the rewards of resilience? And 42 years later, how much more independent are we? For Independence 2021, I listened to an old interview with Sir John for a reminder of his vision for the country.
I had one philosophy, that I must look not for tomorrow's vote, but look after tomorrow's children. If I had looked after tomorrow's vote, I would have been out of office a long time and with scandal.
We bounce back from distant dismal days. We bounce back from pain.
And I listened to a discussion between Peter Josie, who was actually involved in the negotiations for independence, and Rick Wayne, who has had a ringside seat to the political mud wrestling of the past 4 decades.
What I see right now is for us to pray that young people, both men and women, will rise with their education and be committed sufficiently to seeing St. Lucia prosper economically and socially and come and take their place among political people that are serious about politics.
We got political independence to do what the heck we wanted. What did that mean? I don't even know what that means. It means we could have term limits or not. It means we could ignore the Constitution or as we please. This is what I particularly am very interested in discussing.
That too got me thinking, and I plan to dissect that conversation in future episodes.
Evening, Signal Point.
I also took in an independence lecture from Senator Dr. Adrian Auger.
We must see and we must assert ourselves as whole people, not as caricatures called taxi drivers, hotel workers, entertainers, all those obviating words which perpetuate a kind of economic anonymity. We must be whole people, whole lives, a whole nation, whole futures. Nothing edited by circumstance or market jargon into a pretty postcard.
This lecture by Dr. Auger, the Requeen Peter Josie discussion, and Sir John's interview will guide our discussion over the next few months as the government elected to office lays out in some detail its vision.
Whilst the Labour Party has been beating pans, we've been busy making plans. And these plans are for your future. Plans which are designed to help hard-working St. Lucians and to develop our country by moving it forward.
The government's performance has been disastrous. The promise of a new St. Lucia has become the nightmare of 2 St. Lucias. One where the rich and powerful and friends of the United Workers' Party regime prosper, and the other where the rest of us are struggling to survive.
These crowds will not be in the mood to discuss the party manifestos which are being released just about now, just days before the polls.
Tonight, the St. Lucia Labour Party offers you sound, sensible, sincere government that you can trust, that you can question, that you can understand or disagree with, that you can elect and work with for the next 5 years and beyond.
And when the sun rises on July 27, 2021, the St. Lucia Labour Party will be there besides you, serving St. Lucia as a dedicated and caring government.
Red and ready, St. Lucia, we brave and ready again. Red and ready, St. Lucia, we brave and ready. Red and ready, St. Lucia, we brave and ready again. Red and ready, St. Lucia, we brave and ready.
A warm welcome to Alan Michael Chasney. So tonight, I am very proud as the political leader of the United Workers' Party to present to you and to present to St. Lucia our manifesto for the next 5 years. The difference with this manifesto is that we have already delivered on 5 years of promises, and we intend to deliver on these promises to build a new St. Lucia for all.
Action speaks louder than words. Don't be deceived by all those fancy talkers.
Dreams of a nation.
But what I did not hear concerned me, and in keeping with current themes, I came up with 5 things that from July 27th should preoccupy the newly minted Prime Minister Philippe Diapier or the 2-term Prime Minister Alan Chasney.
Oh, 'cause we are your priority, a resilient nation. We can, we will. Dreams of a people you must fulfill.
First, food security. Agriculture has served the country well, but for the past 2 decades or more, has never been given the prominence that it deserves. The investment has been minimal for an industry that has an impact on the environment, the nation's health, food security, and economic development. You can't get a more shovel-ready project than agriculture. We can turn the sod today and start harvesting in a few weeks' time. We spend $350 million a year on food imports for St. Lucia, and in the Eastern Caribbean, the numbers are mind-boggling.
And our food import bill as a region last year was 1.6 billion EC dollars. 1.6 billion last year. 1.6 billion last year.
1.6 billion Eastern Caribbean dollars.
Yes.
As a policymaker, definitely, I would want us to carve out a percentage so that we can create greater stimulation in our local economy.
We have not heard a politician brag about reducing the food import bill. That should be an indicator of progress.
Be the best citizen you can be, and you automatically contribute to your nation.
Then there is youth and education. We hear talk of youth economy and investments in the youth. But what is concerning for me is that from independence, Saint Lucia has only offered 1 island scholarship per year. Recently it went up to 2, and I think it's back down to 1 or none. We have not heard a pronouncement for 2021. Taiwan used taxpayers' money to provide about 21 scholarships last year, and new scholarships are offered annually. But the most our government can come up with is 1 or 2 scholarships for our most promising students. That should be concerning to the National Youth Council and those campaigners on the front line. How many of their children have received an island call? Cuba, which is struggling, is more invested in our youth. And yes, we can find money to fund scholarships. We can get 30 million a year to build roads through the gas tax. We're funding an airport through a passenger tax. And soon the Tourism Authority will collect its own taxes. So we can get creative if we are serious about educating and empowering our youth. Investment in youth is not just school buildings and playing fields. It is about scholarships for teachers and coaches. It's investments in grassroots programs.
Back and touch that in the air. Look at.
We have a wonderful cricket facility in the Darren Sammy Stadium. But what did we put in place to develop cricket coaches, the school's cricket programs, or the struggling grassroots programs? So we should not be alarmed if there are no Saint Lucians on the West Indies team, or even the Saint Lucia Zooks. That should be another key indicator of success. There are Vincentians and Grenadians on the West Indies team, but none from Saint Lucia. Yes, I know the government should not get involved in cricket development, but what about having an aggressive program in schools island-wide?
Boom! We have somebody back at Yadla, yeah, man. On behalf of the NYC, just letting you know about the campaign led by the NYC and Electoral Department to help boost the youth voter turnout in this country.
Asking the youth to come out to vote is critical, but the more important question is, what are the youth voting for?
We, the youth, we have the power to change our future, yeah? So it's your democratic right to vote, but we have no right to tell you where to vote. Okay, youth? Please, this is a message out to all youth in this country. We have the power to change our future. Yeah, man.
What will the youth get in return? To make them more competitive as sportsmen and women, academics, creatives, or entrepreneurs?
We bounce back from distant dismal days.
Now to the creative industry. We recently celebrated our youth in music through the Prime Minister's Playlist 42.
Hey Saint Lucia, welcome to Playlist 42.
A great initiative, and we commend those who made it happen. We've also been celebrating the Denry segment, but what have we given that sector in return? For example, is there a school of music in Denry, or Babono, or Soufre? How many of our studio owners here have been given scholarships to study music production and engineering? That should have been a legacy of the Saint Lucia Jazz Festival. The announcements of scholarships annually to study music, music production and engineering at the highest level. No one has been offered an opportunity to become a sound or lighting engineer after almost 3 decades of the Saint Lucia Jazz Festival. So what is the legacy? And whilst we're on the question of the Jazz Festival, should the next government defund that festival and instead invest in the local creative industry, including carnival and other cultural festivals, film, theatre, fashion, and more music schools?
Yeah, nous c'est Batman sorti Lucia. Pas qu'à parler pas ni pièce blablabla. Nous ne cocaïne, plus marijuana, so pan la gentille chula.
In the meantime, our youth have been out there expressing themselves, and the messaging is clear.
Mount a war where man been show. Mount a face where man bust dog. Mount a style where man a kill them with. Boy.
This is a cry for help. and obviously no one is listening.
Well, ça qui a fait, ça a fait, ouais, nous pas ça changer ça. Mais la lita pour qui quoi yo c'est gangsta, mais c'est pour ça la molle même go sa boca.
And this too is also a cry for help. The fourth priority for me is job creation, and the Prime Minister actually has that in his portfolio, so that was well intentioned. We need to ensure that more solutions become job creators, not just job seekers and employees. For example, why can't we own a call center? And why can't we develop more locally owned and branded hotels? Do we really need an international hotel brand? Or should we focus on homegrown talent and ensure that at least 40 to 50 cents on every tourism dollar stays right here? We should use CIP proceeds to build another cocoa palm, probably in Choiseul, or give Bay Gardens the same concessions and waivers to build hotels in Canals and Vieux-Fort, or give Fondue the support to build eco-lodges in Maho and La Saucière. And the fifth point that the next government needs to address in a meaningful way relates to the first word in our motto, the land. The land should not be given away like Christmas hampers, whether it be in Vieux-Fort or Casabas or the seabed at Dauphin. No one Prime Minister or Cabinet should have that kind of authority. It is an issue that particularly the youth ought to be concerned about and should involve a national discussion, even a referendum. So these are the 5 things I'm hoping to address through the Independence Project over the next few months. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Feel free to engage. We will create a segment called RFP, a request for perspectives, so feel free to participate in our online discussions, no matter your political affiliation. We've already started the process of engagement, and today the focus is on the creative industry. Joining us shortly is drummer, cultural activist, and songwriter Neham Baptiste.
There is a land I call my home.